Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi. How are you all? All good? All of you are looking gorgeous in saris, by the way. Everybody. And celebrating the month of breast cancer, everybody's in pink. You guys all color coordinated, yeah? Well. Welcome to Sharjah International Book Festival, where this year's theme is Open Book, Open Mind. And it's a great opportunity that we all get, being in Dubai, where we have celebrities from various walks of life who come down here, taking out time from their busy schedule to be part of this event, and where they share their thoughts, where we have book launches, and many, many more. We can hear it from their mouth, yeah? So let's begin the evening, and I would like to call this wonderful lady, okay? She's the founding editor of Harper's Bazaar India, having worked at LA India newspaper, Indian Express, and Verve. She's also been the communication director of Gucci, Bottega, and Jimmy Choo in India. Okay, she's really accomplished a lot, yeah? And I'm like, wow, she's like a role model right now. Accomplished on both sides of fashion divide. She's moved down to Dubai now almost a year ago, consulting fashion editor of the first English daily newspaper, Khalij Times. Currently, she contributes to the business of fashion, Vogue India, Arab News, Vogue Arabia, the voice of fashion, and UAE's leading newspaper, The National, while leading consultancy projects for brands like Bigster Village, moderating talks at fashion events in Dubai, and connecting brands with their true customers. Fall 2019, we saw this launch of her first book, that's 100 Iconic Bollywood Costumes, outlining a key visual history of Bollywood iconic wardrobes. Well, she lives in Dubai with her family, and I really don't know how does she balance all this and more. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sujata Asumol. Well, now this is what we've been waiting for, haven't we? She has accomplished so much I think, before I begin with her intro, I would not be wrong in saying more than the men, I think we women have drooled over her, yeah? Seeing her in her ads, and you would wonder, how does she have that perfect face and her eye color and her complexion, and she just looks ravishing and stunning in that sari. One of India's first supermodels, and her name itself was so sensational when it came out, yeah? We were like, wow, what a beautiful name. So I was saying, it has everything. She has acted in several movies, memorably in Oscar-nominated Water, and has been a television host for Top Chef Canada and Oh My Gold. She also starred in Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. How can we forget Afreen video? Yeah, can we hear a loud cheer? Yes, now that's nice. She was recently seen in Amazon Prime original series 4 Shots, Please. And her upcoming telecast includes A.R. Rahman's first production, 99 Songs. She has also started her own yoga studio and a line of ethical perfume. When diagnosed with a rare blood cancer in 2009, she chose to share her experiences in a blog called The Yellow Diaries, which led to her memoir, Close to the Bone. She was awarded the prestigious Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2012 by the Canadian government for her contribution in raising cancer awareness. She writes poetry centered on identity and life of no fixed address. In 2018, she announced the birth of her twin daughters via surrogacy, writing and speaking about it as a way of normalized fertility options and choice for others. She divides her time between Mumbai and the world. Well, this is what we see on book, but with all the interviews that I have personally, looked upon, I just found this woman so stunning when we all are so taken with all the noise that's happening, keeping up all the facade that's there, keeping up all the image. This woman just believed in silencing that noise and just listening to herself. I've never seen someone who's so truly connected and just follows her gut. If she feels like doing it, she does it. Otherwise, she doesn't even regret that she's not been there. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me the honor that today I'm emceeing this show and she's here right in front of me. Please put your hands together. A very loud applause for Lisa Ray. Thank you. Ma'am, this is the Parambric group. It's very, very well-known group in UAE, and they would all like to felicitate you. Aliza, before we begin the evening, may we please launch Close to the Bone, your beautiful book. That is Lisa Ray's Close to the Bone. And yes, we're going to hear it all from her. Sujata, I'll give it to you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It's really, really wonderful for me to connect with also readers, with people who have perhaps seen a different side of me over the many years, and now I'm able to share who I am today and maybe remove a few masks. And I also want to share that I'm particularly delighted to be able to do this session with Sujata, who's one of my oldest, dearest friends. She makes a special appearance in the book, you know, and also for us to unveil this book together is also very significant because she has understood my lifelong ambition, my secret ambition to become a writer since I was probably 17 years old. So I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. I published my book at what? How old am I again? 47.
46. You published at 46.
So keep the faith. Keep the faith. And I truly believe that. Of course, I also believe that I had a lot more to say today than I did when I was 17 years old. So that's also significant. Thank you, Suj, for being here and doing this.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations. I know you recently posted on Facebook how this kicks off a season for you of literary festivals.
Yes, this is my first one.
Yeah, and how it's been a lifelong ambition. So how does it feel to be here?
It's still a little bit surreal, to be honest, as I said. And I feel strangely like a little nervous. I'm not normally nervous in public settings, but I think that when you end up... Here's the thing, right? I've made a profession out of speaking to people, out of promoting other products, you know, other people's design and vision. I'm promoting somebody else's film, somebody else's TV series, somebody else's vision. And this is the first time I'm promoting my own creation. And that is really, really very nerve-wracking and exhilarating for me at the same time.
So I know a lot of people have been calling this book a memoir because it is your life story, but you're very clear it's not to be called a memoir. Mm-hmm. And I love the way you call yourself a warrior, cancer warrior. And people have been calling this book a cancer memoir. So can you explain to us why you feel this is not a memoir?
I'll definitely explain that. I also want to, I think, share that this is actually specifically, I don't think, not a cancer memoir either. In fact, cancer only makes an appearance in the last 50 pages of the book, and it's a pretty thick book. I look at it sometimes, I say, wow, I wrote that? It's like 400 pages. Don't let that discourage you. I've heard that it passes very quickly.
I read it in 2 days. I read it in 2 days.
Oh, you're so sweet. But, so, as I sort of indicated, I am, let me go back a little bit. I have to go back in time a little bit. So basically, my father's Bengali, and I can't help it. It's in my blood to believe that the apex of human achievement is words and writing a book, no matter what. It's just part of my culture. So obviously my life took a very dramatic detour, and you know a little bit about that. And that's why I call myself an accidental actress. Believe it or not, I never ever wanted to be in front of the camera. I'm an introvert, I'm very shy, I need a lot of private time. So of course I became an actress, right? Because that's what you do when you want to spend a lot of time alone in a dark room. So my life has been full of very interesting contradictions and detours. Now, of course, when I was invited to write my book, it was on the basis of my cancer diagnosis. I should share, if you don't know, that in 2009, I was diagnosed with a very rare blood cancer called multiple myeloma. And when I was diagnosed, I couldn't even pronounce it. I said, what, melanoma? And he said, no, multiple myeloma. And of course, that was a shock, but in a strange way, I think it's a cliche for a reason, that sometimes it's when you really break. You know, it's when you crack open, it's when you go through very difficult times that you actually can remake yourself with a deeper and more enduring beauty. And that's what happened to me with cancer. So, but I chose to actually chronicle my cancer experience in a blog. I'd never written a blog before. I have been writing since I was this high, but I'd never shared it. But now, when I was dealing with this very, very perplexing condition, number one, multiple myeloma is considered fatal. Number two, it's considered incurable. And at the same time, I was encouraged to keep it a secret. You know, I was still in those days a working actor, and it was a very, very confusing time for me. So everybody around me said, of course, and they were saying it because they were concerned about me, because they were saying it out of love. It sounds very improbable, but I promise you it was, and it's a bit of a long story, and that's why I chose to write about it, because when people would ask me, how did you get into this? You know, if you're so shy and if you always wanted to be a writer, how did you become, you know, a model and actress? I said, well, I think that's why I have to write the book. So anyways, all these things were going on in my mind, and cancer was the moment when I was forced to stop. Because you know what was happening my whole life? I was carrying trauma, I was carrying pain, and for me, my work, I really want to share this, and I mean this very seriously. My work as a model and actress was an excuse and a distraction, not to look at myself or to heal myself. That's not the case, of course, I think, for every model and actress, but that was the case for me. And I think that is a modern affliction. I think that often we do use work, we do use distractions. We live in a world that is very, very distracted. There's so many things to be distracted by, to not sit with ourselves quietly and see what's inside, right? And start the process of healing. Anyways, basically the antidote to that was cancer. For me, I do not wish this on anyone else, but it forced me to stop and to look at how I needed to change my life. And when I did that, and when I was trying to understand this whole scenario, I started writing, because for me, writing was always the way I had of processing my understanding of the situation. So I wrote a blog called The Yellow Diaries. Then off of that, that was my big coming out party. That was my big cancer coming out party, because that was how I announced publicly that I had cancer. And of course, that news spread through Canada, it spread all over India, and I had this incredible outpouring. And that also was the antidote to this idea that we have, and I have to say, particularly in India, that when you're going through a serious problem or a serious disease like cancer, you must hide it. Shh, don't tell anyone about it, you know, just chupke, go underground. And I found this attitude a lot. So writing was the antidote to that. So then basically, then off of my blog, which was widely read, I got an offer to write a book. And that brings us here today.
So one thing about this book is, I remember you, as you say, 20 years ago, intensely private. It was very difficult to interview. I think a lot of the success of my career is the fact that I was the one person who was allowed to interview you. And when I read this book, it is so introspective, so raw, so vulnerable, yet so objective. You're able to, it's like you are talking about your life, yet you are talking about it as an outsider too. How are you able to get this balance?
You're pretty good at this, you know, Suj. You should make a profession out of it. That's a great question, and I think I have written about it, that I've always had this strange ability, and I can't explain rationally why. I mean, I can give you a few perhaps reasons, like I'm an only child. And so I think as an only child, you're an only child, so you're smiling as well. If anyone else is an only child here, you might understand what I'm talking about, is you tend to, live in your own head, right? I mean, it's actually wonderful in some way because you create this imaginative world and you become a great observer. I've always been a great observer of things, of human nature, of little things. And it's the little details of life as well that tend to, come on in, come on in and sit down. So it's the little details of life that have always stayed with me. So I don't know, but I've always had this ability to be in a situation. Like I could be having a conversation with somebody and there's a part of me that's watching it, that's being the witness or the observer. And it's just an ability I've always had. And it actually makes for a very colorful life, let me tell you. Because I'm always writing this interesting script. There's this running dialogue in my life, even if I'm sitting and having tea with somebody professionally, and they're talking to me about a role or they're talking to me about a project and I'm making up a story. I'm like, oh, he's not wearing his watch. I saw him wear his watch before. I wonder what the story is. Does he not want to be found? Did he leave his watch at his lover's house? So I'm always creating these stories in my head and it's always been there. So I really do feel I need this outlet. Otherwise, I'm a little bit mad. I need to, and I probably need to move on to like writing fiction soon as well. Not only non-fiction, because I think I have a lot of stories to tell and I have a huge imagination.
As you mentioned in this book, you've written about so many struggles. And as I said, you've done it so well, whether it was the car accident, your eating disorder, your illness. What was the experience that was hardest to write about? There must have been one that was hard. And did that surprise you, which one it was?
Yes. It was very, very hard to write about my mother's death. It was very, very hard. And I still get choked up about it. And it's made me, I think I might have written about this, that I do believe that things like grief, and particularly grief for a parent, you never actually recover from it. It's not something to recover from. You develop a relationship with the grief. And so that's been a big part of also, that was a revelation. Because I like to think, for instance, I've also gone into a lot of my experiments with meditation, and I am very aligned with Tibetan Buddhism. That's provided me with a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Succor. It's given me a lot of relief in my life. And the Tibetan Buddhists, of course, they meditate on death, and I've actually done these death meditations, and honestly, I actually recommend it. It's not at all as morbid as you might think it might be, because actually it's only when you reflect on death that we actually end up engaging more joyfully in life. So, but having said that, so, I thought, I can handle this. But yeah, writing about my mother's death, it still chokes me up. That's a hard one.
And also, as you mentioned, you're not someone who wanted to be in the glamour industry. It happened to you, and of course now you're writing.
And you know that. You know that.
I know that. But now that you're an author, is it? I mean, I'm sure everyone thinks it must be a massive advantage, but it must have its disadvantages too. Going into the, to the writing world, coming from glamour. What have been the advantages?
Oh
and
yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, Suj. Yeah, absolutely. We can't help it as human beings. I think we pigeonhole people, right? By what you do. We have perceptions about people, right? Okay, this one's a doctor, this is a lawyer, this is a writer, this is a this is a that. And then along with that comes perceptions. So, if I have been identified as being an actor or a model or somebody in the glamour industry for so many years, there's a lot of perceptions that come with that. In fact, I'd love to know, I honestly want to know, what do people think of? Do you think that people in the glamour industry, what's your perceptions about them? I would love to hear. That they have it all sorted? Okay, yeah, that's one. Yeah.
They are in
Thank
the
you.
entertainment industry. So there's a lot going inside them, but they have that beautiful smile,
Yeah.
which for the first instance we think, wow, everything is going pretty well in their life, but which is not.
That's a great one. So it's a facade. It's a
Yeah,
mask.
Having a mask.
Yeah, having a mask. That's very perceptive. That's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. That they're fake. Also, that you could be
Not
fake.
fake, I wouldn't say fake, because you've chosen an industry where you can't show your emotions everywhere.
Ah, interesting.
You
Yeah,
can't show
yeah.
the
That's a
emotions here.
perception,
For
right?
that matter, even we can't show. Like if we are in the corporate world, we can't show our emotions also. We as mother or wife or friend, we put up this face and come, but what is going inside us only we as individual know, which in a larger scale, the industry people or your glamour world has it. Like
That's such a great point you've brought up. It's a great point, and I'm so glad you did, because I've actually been talking about two things about my book. Number one, it's about removing masks.
actually.
All the masks. And everybody wears a mask. We're all forced to wear masks. Don't forget it, just, and forget about the makeup and hair that has taken me 2 hours to do. But everybody, society forces us to wear masks, right? There's certain learned behavior, conditioning. And then secondly, I want to get back to that, but I've started to understand that my mission today, if I may, is my one job is to be able to show how self-love and honesty is irresistible. Makes for an irresistible life, that it is really the ultimate way to live. And it's taken me a very, very long time to get to this place where I'm not saying that I'm completely without a mask all the time, but I am perhaps my most authentic, to use a word that, that is a little bit overused. But that journey of coming back to myself and finding myself has taken many years. It's ironic because as children, we're born that way, right? We don't know how to pretend to be anything that we're not. And then society conditions us. And a lot of that's what I've written about in this book, is that how so many circumstances in my life conditioned me to behave a certain way. How I had a lot of insecurities that I was trying to hide. I was very, very scared of showing my true face, because suppose people don't like me. Suppose I'm judged, I had a serious eating disorder that I hid at the height of my fame and success. When everyone was saying that she's gorgeous and she's beautiful, and I was on everybody's wall, is when I was at my most miserable emotionally. So I was constantly hiding that behind, again, a beautiful facade and, the lifestyle and the smiles. And I knew that one day I have to break that. I have to break that pattern. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that is the essence, I think, of why I also wrote this book, aside from the fact that I'm a writer. And I use this, I have to also be honest, I used this as an excuse. For me, it's a debut book. It's not just a memoir, to get back to something that you asked, Suj. Sorry, I went around. But for me, it's my debut book, and I'm going to be writing a lot more books. And of course, at the same time, I have to be honest, as a known face, as a so-called celebrity, obviously, I had this open invitation to write a memoir. My publisher said, of course we'll publish your memoir. Maybe if I was not known, or if I had said I want my first book to be a novel, they probably wouldn't have published it. So in all honesty, this is my debut as an author, and it was an excuse to be published, and I plan on writing many, many, many more things. And that's why I don't see it as just a memoir. So thank you.
It's funny you talked about love, because somebody asked me what I thought this book was about, and to me, in this book, it's about your search for love, and how your search for love makes you realize that instead of chasing love, it's about loving yourself. How did you come to this realization, and do you think it was when you came to this realization that you felt you could write this book? Because you've always wanted to be a writer, but something just was stopping you. There was some stumbling block that just stopped you. And do you think it was when you got this self-love realization that you had, yes, I have it in me to write the book?
Good question. Yeah. I know, you know what? In fact, you're making me now see it in a different light. I think that probably has a lot to do with it. Self-worth, self-love, all of that. Yeah, you're right. I think that, I mean, to be a creator, to create something out of nothing, whether you're writing, whether you're, creating a film or painting, or you're a designer, whatever it is, you have to believe that what you're putting out there is worthwhile. You have to have a certain amount of faith that perhaps somebody will want to read it or look at it and things like that. And then I think that obviously what happens is that when you have very low self-esteem, that is a huge stumbling block. I didn't believe in myself. And I think that obviously you're not always thinking about the audience, but I think that when you have that self-confidence and that love and you value yourself, you realize that even if nobody reads this, it's okay, because I need to express myself. So thank you for that insight, Suj. Actually, that's really powerful.
Well, luckily, lots of people read it.
Hallelujah.
And so much so now you've signed a 3-book deal.
Yes, I have. Thank you for mentioning it.
I think, as you mentioned, you have lots of stories to tell, and you're going to be writing about fiction and poetry. But I have a feeling all your books will draw from your own experiences. Tell us a little bit about your next book that you have planned. Can we get a little sneak peek into it?
Okay, now the journalist is at work. I can see that. Hi, cutie. Hi. Oh, it's so sweet. Sorry, I have my twin daughters are back in Bombay, so I melt. I cannot right now reveal the exact content of the next book. But suffices to say, I'm constantly taking notes, and I plan on sticking to this deadline this time and not allowing years and years to go by. But I'm so excited. I'm so gratified. I'm so humbled. And I believe this is another thing I've learned, is expressing gratitude. It's the simplest thing we can do, and it just enriches your life so much. It takes maybe a minute or two a day. So I do we have to humble ourselves. We have to always understand, because there's always, right? We always have a choice. We can either look in the moment and say, oh my God, I haven't accomplished this, or why has she accomplished this, or I'm not good enough. Or we can say, wow, look at my life. Look at what I have. Look at the riches of my life, So I'm so deeply grateful that people have, read the book, are reading the book. The book has a life of its own, and that I now have this 3-book deal, and I plan on continuing. And today I'm shameless. I'm like, I'm going to win the Booker one day. That's what I set my sights on.
I hope you do. So you are from the glamour industry, so I have to ask you this question. Would you ever like this book to be turned into a film? And who could play Lisa Ray in the film?
Oh my God. That's so... we should take a ballot. I would love people to put their suggestions into a box, because okay, I would be lying if I would say that no, of course, no. I mean, it would be lovely to see this adapted into something, and talks are on. It's been incredible, because people have approached me.
I had a feeling.
People have approached me. Now, that's a very long process. Who knows what direction it will take, but it's in God's hands, and I have faith. But who would play me? I don't know. Some crazy actress. Who do you think? Deepika. No. Deepika's playing everything now. I think we should do a talent search. I think we should throw it open.
Reality show.
Yes.
We have a reality show in the making.
Okay, now you're getting carried away. But honestly, I think it would be cool to find new, fresh blood. Let me say one thing. In the realm of the talent industry, and I'm like an old, seasoned pro, because I've been in this business for about 30 years. So I have seen,
That's aging me, because we started out, the only reason
No,
I'm
but don't
saying
you
that
want
is she
people to
ages
say,
me when she
oh, but
says
you look
that.
so good for your age. That's better, I actually end up like adding a few years now, because it's better at this age, because the people say, wow, you look really good. But I think that, what's lovely about the Indian entertainment industry today is there is a whole plethora of new, young, extremely talented actors. People who are really known for their acting. That whole old star system thing from the 90s. And, it's there, but that's a different thing. I mean, Salman's still doing his thing with some 16-year-old, and he'll continue doing his thing, and that's okay. But along with that, I think with OTT platforms, with new, there's a lot of fresh blood, and I would love to, so let's do a talent search, basically.
And how has the industry reacted to this new chapter in your life? How has the glamour industry, because you still have managed to keep one foot there and one foot here, and how has the reaction been from people in the industry?
So I think the best reaction, the most flattering reaction that I get is when somebody reads the book and they call up either Jason, my husband, or my publisher, and they say, listen, it's really well written. Did she really write it? But you know what? That is a backhanded compliment to me. I absolutely take it as a compliment. I promise you I own every single word in this book. I labored over it. And actually, it's funny because, as I said, the book is taking on a life of its own. There's this first release. It was released in May. And there was a certain audience. And now there is another audience. It's getting a second life of its own, where it's word of mouth. It's people who are genuinely readers who are saying, actually, this is a great read, and it's probably not what you think it is. Again, perceptions. I mean, people are sort of, initially saying, another celebrity memoir. But that's maybe why, again, going back to your question, your very, very insightful question, why I don't want it labeled as particularly not a celebrity memoir, I promise you. Because first of all, it's false advertising. If you're expecting a celebrity memoir, it's actually not that. It's not this juicy kind of fast read. And then it's doing a disservice to the book. It's not that.
And talking about it not being a juicy read, your research in this book and the whole way it's framed has really, I think, touched a lot of us other writers, and particularly when you talk about serendipity, which is your favorite word, and you actually talk about the root of the word, and I didn't realize you've always known the root of the word.
Yeah.
And I like that chapter a lot, so may I request you to read that part out?
Okay, I'd love to. Just a bit, just a quick small reading. I love that you brought that up, Suj, because I think also, first of all, I think to be a writer, you have to be a reader first. And I've always been what you call a voracious reader. I've just consumed and eaten books. And, you might even remember days when we were shooting or I was on a set, I'd always have a book in my lap because we didn't have smartphones. So I'd always have a book, so I've always reading. And so before the writer is the reader, and if you're a reader, I think you have to love words. And I've always loved words. Serendipity, finding something valuable or delightful when you are not looking for it, has been one of the primary shaping forces of my life. The word is believed to have been coined by Horace Walpole from a letter he wrote to a friend about a Persian story he had read, The Three Princes of Serendip. The trio was always making discoveries by accident of things they were not in quest of. Serendip was the old Persian name for Sri Lanka before the Brits named it Ceylon. Some people rely on their friends or family for advice, or they consult oracles and business coaches. I rely on serendipity. I imagine an impish grin on her face every time she places her hands on my shoulder and draws me close, breathing gently in my ear. Have I got an assignment for you? Here's where you are going next.
Just beautiful. Has everyone here read the book?
No, because it's not available here, but
so now
apparently it's available at the book fair.
So that should give you a good little taste of what's in the book. I'm going to ask you one more question before I open it up. I know you talk about serendipity, but is there any advice you would give to the 16-year-old self before you did your first Bombay dyeing ad? before that accident happened?
You know, I have such a love-hate relationship with this question. It's such a tough one. You know, I mean, you like literally, I'd have to reflect on it. But on one hand, let me say, and I really own this, I have no regrets. Like literally, hashtag no regrets in my life. I own, I think, everything that I've been through. Everything that I have seen and experienced is inside me. It's created the woman that I am today. And I just want to again go back to this one thing that I say, that I do believe that my mission today is to say that everything you do, you know, every experience, please try and not label it good, bad, whatever it is. It will make you, it will build you. It might break you, but ultimately it is a lesson, and it's so, so powerful. It will lead to self-love. It's rich, it's enriching. So to live an enriching life, like to actually sample everything, all the meze in front of you, you know, I think is really the point of life. And as I said, so my main job is to make you believe that self-love and that defying convention, finding your voice, self-love is irresistible, makes for an irresistible life. So, you know, this book is definitely my efforts at doing that.
I know you thought about calling this book at one point More Beautiful for Having Been Broken.
Yes.
Because you believe in wabi-sabi. And
Yes.
you decided to call it Close to the Bone.
Well, my publisher didn't want to, they said it was too long. They said it was too long. So ultimately that was the only thing I conceded to them. They said, yeah, exactly. It's great. So More Beautiful for Having Been Broken is actually inspired by Kintu Kusuroi, which is the Japanese art of repairing ceramics with gold and making that object more beautiful for having been broken. And I truly also believe in that philosophy as well.
Well, as I said, this book really did it. I think any woman who reads it will tell you, it just tells you how women need to just accept their own flaws. And we truly are more beautiful for being broken. And I'm going to now open it up to the floor and ask any of you to ask questions.
I really love the sentence about taking each experience whether it breaks you. I totally believe in that.
Thank you.
Because I totally believe that and I live by it. So that allowed me to come up with a question. What has been one of your worst fears since you've spent so much time with yourself, and what have you done actually to overcome it?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. I would say probably my greatest fear has been that of fear itself, that fear would prevent me from living my best life. And on one hand, it hasn't. I mean, when I was young, I was really quite reckless, you know, some people might say. But there was a thought process behind it, you know. I always said that, you know, my main goal in life was to have many different experiences. As I said, to literally taste, to like suck the marrow out of life, you know, the good and the bad, and try to not judge it. But at the same time, we also live in the world, and there's a lot of noise in the world, particularly the world has become much, much noisier over the last 30 years since I was young. A lot of opinions, a lot of, you know, let's say conditioning is really, really strong. And so my greatest fear is actually of, you know, not allowing that to seep into my psyche, you know, and somehow alter my path. And that's really hard to do. So for me, honestly, my greatest techniques are meditation. It's free. It's not easy to do, but very simple. But it's been a life changer for me. And I take a lot of detoxifications. And by detox, I mean I detox from technology, you know, and I spend time with myself and I come back in silence. And also, even, you know, if you can't always, and we can't always take time off to go on vacations and things like that. They don't have to be extravagant, but even finding time in every single day to just be alone with my thoughts, that's also been the greatest antidote, I think, to the very, very noisy, busy world that we live in.
Actually, very honored to have you here. So, one single question to you. What is that one bold message to all the aspiring models who want to follow the industry which you have been through, which you have celebrated in? What is that single bold message to all of us here?
To a young aspiring model, but specifically because that's two different things. That's two different.
As you can, spot on, a lot of women, especially in UAE, who sit at home and who's been married, but still they want to get into the modeling industry. There are a lot of aspiring models. That's what my
really?
point is.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what is that single message to the youngsters and to the women who want to step into this industry?
Anybody who wants to become a
Anyone
model,
who
whether
wants to
they're
become a
young
model.
or-
Yes.
or
Sure, yeah,
slightly
yeah,
older.
from any stage. My first reaction is, don't do it. I'm sorry, but that's just don't do it. And I have to be completely frank here, and that again is why I've written the book, and you would understand, within the first few chapters, that I'm the wrong person to ask, because I never wanted to be a model. For me, somebody spotted me, and it all happened by accident. So I honestly don't have advice. I wouldn't know how to get into the industry, because it just happened for me.
And what happens if one of your daughters decide they want to be a model?
Oh my
I happen to know
God.
one of them is a young fashionista already. Correct?
I'm sure it's karma.
Yeah.
It's karma. It's going to happen.
One
I
of
was
the
a very bad. I troubled my parents so much. Having said that, I was very rebellious. But let me say, okay, when I say that, of course, look, I'm not saying don't do it. I mean, if it's genuinely, your passion, of course, you must pursue it. And fortunately, today the industry has changed. It's a lot more systematic than it was when I started. Because when I started, literally somebody spotted me, they put me in touch with Maureen Wadia, suddenly I was on the cover of a magazine. That's how it happened to me. I don't think it happens like that much anymore. There's agencies, you get a portfolio done. So I think that, you can Google it today. But I am not the right person to ask because I never wanted to do this. For me, it's been an accident. I always wanted to be a writer. So serendipity, that's why that was a significant serendipity. This idea of something happening when you least expect it, that has literally been the most important force in my life. Everything professionally that's happened to me has just happened to me. I've never gone looking for it. Writing is the one thing that I've been very, very deliberate about. So of course, I don't want to discourage anyone, but I also want, you have to ask yourself, here's what maybe I would advise. Ask yourself, why is it that I want to do this? What will be fulfilled in me by doing this? And if you feel that it's some sort of validation, if you feel it's like suddenly I will be seen, let me tell you, there are more enriching ways, I think, of being seen and becoming really powerful within yourself than just modeling. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. All right.
Hi, Lisa. Congratulations on your book, first and foremost. And thank you for letting us know it's never too late to pursue your dreams. Out of all the roles that you have done, you have played as a model, as an author now, as a mom, as a wife, as an actress, how do you rate or rather rank yourself and why?
Oh. First of all, I have to admit I'm not in the game of ranking. Ever. I don't like numbers, first of all. I don't like math, I don't like spreadsheets, I don't like any of it. Any of it. My mind does not work that way. Plus, to be honest, I don't think that it's healthy to do that. I think, I don't even believe in competition. Honestly. Let me explain something. If I can tell you one thing, As I said, I'm adventurous, and I have redefined success for myself. This is really significant. I've redefined success for myself because I had to ask myself, what is success? You know why I had to redefine success for myself? Is because at the age of 16 or 17, I was suddenly an overnight sensation. I had everything that society tells you is success. I had money, I had fame, I had people running after me, I was on the cover of magazines, etc. However, at exactly the same moment, I was experiencing my deepest, darkest emotional low. I was emotionally broken. I had no self-esteem. So that made me pause, because is that success then? Because on the surface of it, I had everything. But inside, I had nothing. It was a deep, dark hole. So in a strange way, that set me on the path of questioning for myself and redefining success. Now, that did not make me happy. And look, I don't begrudge anyone. You know, in society, we need, of course, I mean, money is important. We want to be respected. We want to, to be reputed and things like that. But at the expense of what? And there's a different way to fulfill yourself from the inside out as opposed from other people's opinions. And that is really why I don't believe in ranking either. I do believe that I have accomplished so much that I set myself out to, and it might not even be, I believe that some of my greatest accomplishments, which is, I'll tell you what my greatest accomplishment is. It's to live life on my own terms. Exactly on my own terms. Today I'm my own boss. Nobody tells me what to do. I want to take a project, I do it. I don't want to take a project, I don't do it. I don't rely on anyone else to fulfill me, including my husband, let me say, because going back to what Sujata was actually asking me, I got married very late in life. I had a lot of great relationships. I actually never wanted to be married. It was just because I had a life where I didn't need anyone. I was financially independent. I was traveling the world. I thought, oh, it's a burden. However, also, I did want a companion at a certain point, and of course, after cancer, my perspective changed. But I realized I was not going to find my true partner until I loved myself first. So I was not looking for someone to complete me, because I was complete, even in terms of love. However, you want to then share the love. You know, and I also managed to find someone who also was quite complete, and then we create this beautiful partnership. He's everything to me. But at the same time, what I like saying is there's Lisa, there's Jason. Actually, my husband's Lebanese as well. So there's Lisa, there's Jason, and then there is the us. And that's a separate identity. So when we are strong and fulfilled, we can feed and nurture the us, the partnership. But there is I am apart from the us, and he is also apart from the us. Sorry, I didn't really answer your question. I went off on my own gyan, which obviously I like to do. I'm sorry about that, but I hope that makes sense in some way.
I just want to add one very special part of this book is actually the afterword, which is written by her husband, Jason, and actually that actually moved me to tears, I have to say.
He
The
will be
afterword.
so happy, Suj, to hear this.
and it's really worth reading his afterword.
Oh, honestly, that is I'm going to tell him. Yeah. I'm going to tell him. He'll be really, really happy to hear that.
Lisa, I would like to ask you a question. Just like how you just broke the entire myth that we all felt that, stars have got it all sorted, they've got the money, the fame, the house and everything. But I want to know personally, for all the people out here also, I'm sure they'll be having it in their mind, that when you hit your darkest lows, when you're extremely low, see, when good is good, everything is merry, but when you hit your darkest low, what is it that you told yourself that got you moving? So probably that could help all of us who are probably dealing with our own struggles, be it in relationship or in life or with whatever. So what is it that you told yourself since you introspect so much?
Let me think about that. Hi. Hi.
Hadi?
Would you like to sit here? Come, please sit. Please, I need a cuddle. Please. Come, please come. We all, please.
Yeah.
So sweet. Oh, okay. I don't want to embarrass him. I was
He's
just like,
very
I'm
shy.
missing my kids. I want to cuddle. Okay. That's a great question. And, I wish I could just give you one exact line. But let me tell you again, I've had to I've been an investigator of life. You know, again, my main job, I feel, has been to investigate life, to decode life. You know, because a lot happened to me when I was very young, actually, and continues to happen. But I think that, you know, in my lows, first of all, there is that idea. Here's my philosophy. Either you can understand life is either for you or against you. Okay? I believe everybody in the world can be divided into that. If you believe that life is for you, truly believe from the inside. And there are ways to, again, practicing gratitude, meditation, all of these things. But believing, making yourself believe that life is for you, means that everything has a purpose. Everything that we go through, we may not understand it in that moment, but you understand that somehow life has your back, and that life is good, and that our essential nature is good. There's a purpose to us being here. If you believe that life is against you, life is a struggle, life is competition, life is, you know, I mean, if he's successful, then I can't be successful, you know, then every difficulty is amplified, every positive thing is made smaller. So I think that I fall into the life is for you camp. So even if you repeat that as a mantra, life is for you, life is for you, life is for you, I may not understand. I don't need to understand. That's the other thing, is our rational, analytical mind is only one small part of us, right? And sometimes that's the most troublesome part of us, the monkey mind. So sometimes you need to quiet the mind and just, life is for me, life is for me, life is for me, you know?
I think that's a beautiful message. You would like to, okay, time out? Okay. All right, I'm so sorry. Quick one.
We'll make it super quick.
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, I wanted to ask, since, I'll go straight to the question.
Yes.
What is that one quality that you admired in your mom and you've imbibed in yourself?
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for asking. My mother's, yeah, her resilience, incredible resilience. I can't, but her heart, she had heart intelligence, and her resilience. She was like the strongest, most resilient woman I've ever known. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry, I go blah, 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 blah. So, but
No, we are enjoying it. We actually wish we had more
I'm
time.
enjoying it. Thank you.
So with this, we'll come to the end of the Q&A. May we have the vote of thanks by Bhima? Please, can we have a round of applause? They are all your friends, isn't it? Bhima Benazir.
Good evening, and I would like to take this opportunity to Sharjah Book Authority, His Benevolence, the ruler, Sharjah, for creating this wonderful opportunity to having all authors, you know, under one roof, and most importantly, Rekha, for coordinating us, Paramparik. We are a
Wonderful job. I feel like I should stand.
And most importantly, the lovely ladies in pinks and reds. Yeah. Yes. I would like to introduce them to you because, you know, these are the ladies of our group. We are a group called Paramparik. We actually promote handloom. Handloom, yeah. Yeah.
This is big. This is big. By the way, this is almost like an ongoing handloom expert. Sujata's passion for textiles, ever since I've known her, since we were 17 years old, and she just did a course in Indian textiles. Oh, wow.
Most welcome, most welcome. Yes, I've noted that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, everybody. Thank you for your patience and attention and listening to us.
Thank you for letting me
Sujata.
question you.
It was wonderful, wasn't it? Right?
Lisa, as with all their love and respect, they would like to gift you a beautiful handloom sari. And we're just so glad that you just loved it. We can have the ladies on the stage as well. I think it'll be wonderful. Lisa Bhima is a lady over here in Dubai who holds us together and forces us to follow our dreams. So she's a driving force, and all these are her lovely supporters.